Go ahead and start.
And first, I want to say that I am interviewing Sandy Gove, and I am Judy LaPorte, and with me is Leah McBain and Sally Harris. And if you don't like any of the questions, don't answer them. So that's, whatever.
And Judy, just today's date. What is
Oh, it's
Today is the 5th of March.
And we're at Sandy's house.
yeah. And when were you born, Sandy?
1941,
And you've always lived here in Newbury.
native,
And
Where were you born?
New London
New
Hospital.
London. Maybe talk a little bit about your family.
yeah,
That you
how
were
many did you have siblings?
I'm one of 6.
Oh, really? I didn't even realize that. Your older sister was Kay.
Catherine, myself, Robert, Arnold, Grace, and Jean.
And do any of them live around here now? Tell us something about your house. Did you have your own room or did
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
We each had our own rooms.
So it was a big house.
Yeah, it's the one right on Main Street in South Newbury.
What memories of the house do you have? Anything special? There was a barn hitched to it.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds of chickens, cows, pigs.
Did you play in the barn at
Oh, yeah.
all growing up?
Yeah. We played in the hay, trampling the hay when you brought the hay in.
Yeah.
You made it play. You make work play.
Did you have to help with the animals? Feed them?
You either helped or you went hungry. It's not like today.
So now what about school? Where did you?
I went to Newbury for the 1st through 4th grade, South Newbury 5th through 7th, and then they moved us back up to Newbury and sold the Friendship House, sold the school to the church for the Friendship House. And that was my 8th
We
grade.
have
was
somebody
back in
else here
Newbury.
today too.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
James has just come into the room
Yeah,
and
don't forget your hat. You leave stuff everywhere.
It's very
It's right there on the chair underneath the Cokes.
Sorry.
Right on the end of
I'm
the
good.
we put all of our coats on it.
That's all right. I told you to put them there. Oh, he was
How's it
off. Was off with other stuff.
And then, so what memories of school? Did you like school? Did you?
Oh, yeah.
And then you went to Simon's after you
Simons, yeah.
finished 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you take the train down there? How did
No.
you get? No.
By the time I went, my sister went on the, I don't know if it was the Greyhound bus maybe, or the
Coming
train.
home, she certainly did. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
How did you get to Simon's?
School bus.
Oh, you did. By
Yeah.
then you had a school bus.
Yeah.
And maybe Kay went by train one year
She,
and came back
she
by
went either, by train or bus. I mean, how would she get to the train?
Bradford, I guess. The other
My
students
father
did.
worked here. My mother didn't drive, so I think it must have been like the Greyhound Express or something. Maybe they
B&M,
took.
maybe. Yeah.
That I don't know because I was little and don't remember because she was several years older than I was.
Oh, was she? How much older
Yeah.
was she?
Almost 4 years older.
Oh, because I was trying to figure out how old you were. She was in my sister's class.
She
And-
was in, yes,
Yeah.
she was in Cat, yeah.
And you had a big family.
We did.
Do you still see your family, your siblings?
No, we communicate on internet. So,
So what are some of the special memories about this area that you had?
all the activities that were available.
And tell us about the activities that you took part in.
Well, my father maintained a swimming hole behind the house. He maintained skating rinks. One of them was down by what's the pond now, by what was Merlin Bertha Richards.
Right.
I think David Smith was.
David.
there
Yes,
now.
David Smith, yeah, David and Jim.
There used to be, it was a swamp then. It wasn't a pond. He maintained that, and sometimes it was across the street behind the church and Friendship House. There was skating in there in a swamp area also. But he maintained those, plowed them, flooded them when they needed to be. Built a tennis court down by where the pond is and the fire hydrant. There was a tennis court there. And anybody who helped work on the tennis court was allowed to play. If you didn't work on the tennis court, you did not play on the tennis court.
Fair's fair.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah. And that's the way it worked back then. People didn't question it. Can you imagine today?
Were there a lot of children in South Newburgh?
No, 6 of us.
Yeah.
But there was myself, Chafees, at one point Dubés, your relatives. Eatons, Heaths, and then the Blake girls, they were out, a little bit, not right in town.
Right.
They were fairly close. Purples. Remember streets. Dickie Wright, but he was at the very end, down at the other end of Moose Hill.
Did he live where his fishing bait, his store was?
He lived in the house next to it, the one that's right in the intersection.
Okay.
That's where he was brought up, and then he had his bait and tackle next door. And that was about it in town.
What was life like back then, as a child and then as a teen?
You went to school, you did your studying, you worked, you ate, and you went to bed.
But you did probably quite a lot of work there because of the
Oh,
animals.
yes.
Yeah.
What did your parents do for work?
My mother had been a school teacher, but she retired. Well, I think back then, once you had a child, you weren't allowed to be
Yeah.
a teacher. So she retired. My father worked for the state and the town at different times, and then he went to join manufacturing, which is where he retired from.
And how did your father get to work? He had a vehicle, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he drove to work.
Yeah, my mother did not drive.
She never drove?
And she was busy with 6 kids.
I wondered, when she was teaching earlier, must be she had to live right near.
She lived at Maritime and Merrill's. They used to board all of the teachers.
Oh.
So, there were several teachers that had lived there with Chapman.
And so they were right near the school.
Yeah, the Newbury School, I don't know. I don't know where Miss Perrin. Miss Perrin was the 1st and 4th grade teacher that I had.
And she lived right across the street.
Did she?
Yeah.
I have no idea where she lived. Yeah.
Are there any special people you remember? I guess your teachers, right?
Yes, the teachers were. Bertha and Merle Rich were always super. The Merrills, Perkins. I remember the Dubés.
Yeah.
So I've had some contact at one point with Stephen.
Yep.
But I'm not sure if he
I
was
haven't heard
sick
from
or
him
something.
in a while.
Yeah. Actually, Peter. I have Peter, I think, in my computer, actually.
And here it asks what you did for fun. Well, I think maybe all the things your father.
Well, yes, those things were all done, and then of course, you went out and played hide and go seek and tag and played marbles. And, you played outdoors. You did not play in the house, and you did not sit and do nothing.
Did you mostly play with your siblings?
Mostly, yes. Yeah. The other kids would come in for swimming, and then when you were skating, the ones that helped were allowed to go down and do the skating. There were some kids in town that didn't help, so they weren't allowed to skate. And my father,
Did you go dancing?
we had the dancing class in Bradford,
You took part in that.
yeah, and then we had a square dance group out of the, I want to say, I don't know if it was like fifth through eighth grade. Several years we had a dance group.
Was the square dance group from the barn in Bradford, or was it separate?
No, that was all totally separate. That was just the Newbury School.
Oh, and where did you have the square dances?
In the school.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. And were you a member of any organization, like the Grange or anything?
Rainbow. I did join the Grange when after Cheryl joined, only because I participated in whatever my kids did. I was active in, I was not really active in the Grange, but I was in Rainbow, and 4-H was the big thing.
Oh,
That
yes.
was, everything was 4-H back then. So,
Who was your leader?
well, Gene Sherman did some of the stuff. Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
No, don't remember for sure who all of the leaders were.
I think that's all the questions, isn't it?
There's stuff on the backside.
This isn't my list.
It's my copy.
I mean, you've already covered your home, yeah. What did you do for occupation all of your life?
I was an X-ray, mammo, CT, and Dexus.
I sure know about
technician.
that.
In New London? Or
Part of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, New London Valley, Dartmouth,
In Concord
Davis
Sound.
Clark, and Jim Trice. I worked in offices as well as.
And you retired from that, right?
Yes, I did.
And what about raising children here in Newbury? You raised your family here.
And there was no problem because my kids were busy. They all had 4-H animals. They all had participated in gardening for 4-H.
I don't think we talked about your own children. Tell us about your family.
My brothers and sisters, you mean?
No, we did that, but your own children.
Oh.
Cheryl, starting with Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl, Timothy, Carla, James, and Yvonne.
And some of them are still here in Newbury.
The only one here is the 2 boys, Timothy. And James.
And did you raise them in this house?
Oh, yes.
You did, okay.
Yeah, I built it and raised it.
Yeah.
Did you have a sense of Newbury as being a little unique,
Used to be.
but you don't think it is now?
It's
What
not
what
the
made it
Newbury.
unique before?
Everybody knew everybody and everybody helped everybody. Now it's me. They take care of themselves. And I won't use the language I usually use.
Thank you.
They moved here because they liked it and they want everything changed. And they moved here and they work out of the area. Not very few of them work in the area that have moved to the area. So it's a totally different town. I only know probably a handful of the people that live in South Newbury, and I've lived here my entire life. So, they just don't.
Well, Leah is trying to help that with having events at the library, but of course you can't.
I don't go
No,
anywhere.
you can't know.
I have been.
What were the mountain and the lake like when you were growing up? Did you?
We had swimming lessons, but our lessons actually, for me as a child, were down at Lake Todd. Well, it was Todd Pond then.
Yep.
And skiing, we skied from the time, almost from the time the mountain opened. So back then, that they would let you, if you went up and used the rope tow and did your skis sideways to fill in the ruts, you'd get a ticket for another ride up.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah, you know, it was free maintenance for them.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
I had
fun for
never
you,
heard
and it was the
that.
way
That's
it was.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I did a
So
lot
you
of
enjoyed
skiing.
both the swimming and the
Oh yeah,
skiing.
skiing, skating.
Where on Todd Pond were the swimming lessons? Is there a beach area?
They were on the Gillingham Drive side.
Okay.
Is over by where the development is now. I say a development. They put in a whole bunch of cottages. I think it's got a name, but I don't know what it is. 'Cause-
And they had a beach there?
There still is sort of
Yeah.
a beach there.
Yeah, and lots of bloodsuckers. My mother would send us with a salt shaker. Yeah.
What was the town like back then? Well, you already said everybody knew everybody.
Right. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody helped everybody.
And what about the roads? Of course, you lived right on
I
103.
was on 103. Yeah, so we had all.
Was that an advantage or a disadvantage? Being so close to the road.
Didn't bother.
Didn't matter
It's
to you.
what it was, and you know, you rode your bike on it very carefully, and you walked on the very, very edge very carefully.
You see, you were too young to be in the school when the first Mount Sunapee boat came up through on,
You're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Were you with the ones that went over to watch the painting in the church? Maybe you were too
I
young.
was too young
Yeah,
for that.
okay.
No.
Then, how did the wars affect Newbury? Did they affect, kind of,
Well, World War II, I mean, I was just a baby.
yeah, that's right.
Korean War, I was in high school. It didn't really affect the town.
Not very much.
No.
Or the moon landing? You
People
watched it probably.
People watched it, but there was, you know, there was no real effect on anybody with it.
You haven't ever lived in any other community, right? You've always
Well,
lived
I
here.
was in Boston when I was in college,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
Other than that, once I got out of there, I never went back.
What makes living in Newbury special to you today? Not so much as years ago.
I'm a homebody. I just like, number one, the seclusion. I don't have houses, you know, I've got enough land, I don't have houses all around me. I did own that at one point, but I sold that to my son because I couldn't afford to keep it, so, but it's all right, he's got his house up the hill.
Yeah.
So, keeps the two boys close by.
Are there any local stories or legends that you remember about Newbury?
Well, I remember the fire up on Ball Sunapee.
Oh, you do.
You
You
know,
were pretty young.
Yeah, I was young, but old enough to make sandwiches, because everybody
Mm.
used to make, I mean, they made food and sent it up to
Yeah.
the firefighters. So I remember making sandwiches, and I remember we could see the red and the smoke from the house. So the fire itself, no.
It must have been scary.
It was, yeah. But, you know, firefighters did a good job,
Yeah.
so they kept it up there.
And any local traditions that were memorable to you back then? Were there any?
Well, they used to have, you know, town meeting used to be at the town hall, and local organizations, the so-and-so club, and then later the WHO, the Women's Health Organization, would provide food, which we sold, obviously, to make a little money to do various projects and so forth. I think Grange did a lot. They used to have a fair every year. And who did a lot? The Women's Health Organization did a lot of stuff. We did all of the shrubs and so forth that are in front of the church on that bank that was nothing but barren stone. It was, just so blank. We did the information booth at one point.
And of course, you remember when the information booth was right
Right
there.
there
in
in
the-
the intersection of 103A,
Yeah,
Yeah, actually Mona Ricard worked at it when it was there even still, I think. Yeah, no, I remember also when they took the main street out of South Newbury.
Oh, yeah.
And put that, down between here and Bradford, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually that was nice when they did that, so.
So before that, did you have a lot of traffic going by your house? Yeah, and after that, it got really quiet.
It got much quieter, Of course, right after the war, I do remember trucks and trucks and trucks. I mean, everything was trucks and trains back then for transportation. So a lot of big trucks.
Do you remember when that was?
62,
Oh,
they,
62.
they used the new highway. At least this piece. I don't know if it went the whole way to Bradford to begin with.
Did it come in
or not.
from the Newport end?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember how far it went in 62, but it went down quite a ways. It may have gone the whole way down the old railroad trestle across Todd and Bradford. So,
And that was a big deal when they changed that, put in that trestle and instead of going all around the corner.
right.
Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
Just that I wish the town would be back to more like what it used to be.
Friendlier?
People, friendlier and, community oriented. People know each other and take care. I mean, part of my not knowing is, the last 5 years of COVID and so forth, I just stayed home. So I have no choice. And New Hampshire still is one of the highest respiratory disease states in the country. So
I've
So
heard that it
stay
is
home,
the
but-
highest for flu this year.
yes, but I think, it just would be nice to have people be a little more community oriented rather than me and money. I get my money in Boston and then move up here and pay lower taxes and so forth. And it's a crime. It's spoiled the town really. And some of the people that moved in, I think of like the Schroeders, when Elsa and Scotty Weir moved into the area and so forth. They came for what we were. And like me, wished to maintain like we were. But a very, very small percentage do now. So some of them don't have any idea even who the neighbors are. So, and it was bad. As far as knowing the neighbors. I have my neighbors here. These few right here. It's fine with me.
Do you have anything that you'd like to say to future generations here in Newbury?
Please keep the town like it is. And we tried several years ago to get a 5-acre minimum in for houses. It didn't go through. It's a 2-acre, and please don't let it get less than 2 acres. Who wants a house where you can reach out and shake the hand of your neighbor? Move back to the city if you want that. I like space. I like open space. I would like to see it remain that way. It would be nice to have like a little restaurant back in town, like we had Mrs. Jim's and Weberson's years ago. It also would be nice to see the town hall be used again. That's a crime. Everything's gotten moved up to Newbury. Everything.
Yeah.
So it's
Except the
not a
church.
they've still got the church up there, but that's just summers anyways. But other than that, that town hall sits now. It's a shame. It was
It's
a
a
nice
beautiful
building. It is. And as when we were in school, and I'm sure Wayne remembered this too, the school used to do, not talent shows, but
Programs,
they did
yeah.
programs for the whole town to come
Yeah,
and see what their kids have accomplished. You know, it would be nice to have a little activity in town, but
They do have the 4th of July parade right in South
in
Simsbury.
South Newbury.
And that draws quite a few people.
Did it? Yeah, that's good.
But of course, you wouldn't dare go over because,
I wouldn't at this point go over.
No.
No, and I can't stand that long anyways, so. Oh, I could take my little
yeah,
buggy
you
here.
sit, yes. Any other questions, Leah?
No, I don't think so.
The only other thing I would say is, did your parents both grow up in Newbury?
No, my father is from Nova Scotia
Okay,
and my mother was from Nashville.
okay.
They both worked over at Hampton Beach.
That's how they met?
Yeah, my great aunt had owned a cottage over there. And my mother would go over there every summer and she worked at a restaurant every summer. And my father was a short order cook at the same restaurant. So that was how they met.
And how did they end up coming to Newbury?
Because my mother was teaching here,
Okay.
so,
Got it.
and she liked it, and I guess my father must have also, so. And he may have been in the area because I know at one point he drove for French's farm out of Henniker, apples. He picked apples and then would transport apples to wherever they went by the, in the bushel baskets or whatever, so. So he may have been in this, that I do not know.
Okay, I just was curious if they had any stories about Newbury in the old days, like
Yeah, no.
before electricity or, but they weren't.
No. No, they had electricity and we didn't have running water in the house when I was real little. We had a pump
Yeah.
in the kitchen sink,
Yeah,
so,
and you
Yeah.
heated your water on the stove?
oh yeah.
And how about telephone? Did you were on the party line?
Oh yeah,
Who else was on your party line?
oh my gosh, the whole half the town,
Yeah.
half of the town,
Yeah, there were 8 on our party line when
Yeah.
3 were businesses.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was 6 or 8 or 10, I know. Chafee's, Heath, Eaton's, the Hortons probably were too.
What was your ring?
9, 7, 4, and 3, 2.
Okay, but when the phone rang and you knew it was for you,
It was
how
a
did-
long 3 and 2 short.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And you didn't touch it otherwise.
Well, some people
Yes, my
did.
mother always thought that there was a person on our party line who listened in a lot.
There were 2 here, but I don't want to say the names.
I don't wanna say names either, but
Yeah.
they're probably the same ones my mother meant, so.
Yeah, there was 2 of them, and that was probably, and actually, your great-great-grandfather may very well have been on the, Newton may very well have been on the same
Yeah.
line as we were,
Probably.
and rings, you
Yeah.
know, one big circuit. I mean, they didn't run separate lines too many places.
Because by the time I was around, there were 4 on our party line, so Chafee's,
Muzzies
I think Chafee's, Muzzies, maybe Rings,
could have been,
Something
yeah,
like
that
that.
would be that
Yeah.
one little section,
and
yeah.
only 2 rang in our house, but the other 2 didn't ring, but you might pick up the phone and they were on.
They were
Oh,
on, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember my mother telling the people that used to pick it up, hang up, damn. My mother was a very meek, mild
Oh,
person.
yes, she was.
Yeah, my father was just the opposite. My father was like I am.
Yeah.
You know, black is black and white is white. There's no gray.
Were the boys outspoken and like your dad?
I'm probably the most outspoken of all of them. Bobby's pretty placid. Arnold, I really don't know him that well now.
Yeah.
Because he's been gone so many years, he traveled around the world so much with his business, with his companies. I'm sure I've got a younger sister who's probably very much like me.
Jeannie?
Yeah.
Jeannie used to babysit for us.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now Kay has died, right?
Yes. Yeah, she was quite young when she passed away. So the rest of us are all hanging in there. So yeah, I figure I hang in here at this point to antagonize my kids.
Someone's gotta do
You
it.
know I will haunt them.
That's all I have.
I guess that's good.
Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome. Well, if